It's time to high five and fist bump. A jiu-jitsu podcast for the everyday grappler. Let's talk subs. Let's talk positions. Let's talk dominating the mats. Welcome to the Let's Talk Jiu-Jitsu podcast with Raymond Terrence.
Thanks for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it. I know with this whole virus thing, you were supposed to come in the studio, and then I let you know that we got rid of our dog yesterday. So
you found somebody?
Yeah, so we found actually Professor Phil tagged a girl that owns a rescue, and it turns out that I know the girl. I went to high school with her, and her sister was my first ever girlfriend.
Oh my God.
It was so random. So anyways, she came by the house yesterday. She spent some time with the dog, and then took the dog the day of. And now she's keeping the dog with her for a couple weeks, and then he's going to be up for adoption. But it's been really rough on my wife there because she's, very pregnant. She's very attached to the dog. It was basically her baby for like 5 years while trying to get pregnant. Like the dog was like, dog sleeps in our bed. She cuddles the dog. It was basically our baby before the baby came. So letting the dog go was a little rough. But the fact that he was snapping at the baby whenever the baby,
that's dangerous.
looking, it was really dangerous. So I had to be the unemotional one. I had to be like, no, like we had a trainer come in. It's not something that can be corrected necessarily. Like it could go wrong again, and I just couldn't take that chance. So I'd rather the dog be put in a family where, he'll be okay and he could do his thing and there's no little babies lying around. And yeah, so it's been a little like turmoil-ish for the past 24 hours, but we have Ramiro on, we have Brian on. So Ramiro, maybe tell us a little bit about how you started in jiu-jitsu and how long you've been doing jiu-jitsu for.
I started jiu-jitsu maybe 10 or 11 years ago. Yeah, 11 years ago. I started boxing with at the Hilton Boxing Club in St. Henry, and the gym was like I really love boxing. I've been watching boxing since I'm a child, and I had like the illegal cable when I was a child, and I would watch all the pay-per-views when I was a kid. So I would watch Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson was one of my favorite, Oscar De La Hoya, and like Pernell Whitaker, all these like boxers I used to grow up and watch, and I started boxing at with the Hilton brothers, but I started a bit older, I didn't know much about martial arts, and I was lifting weights, running, but I think I was getting bored with that, and I wanted to do something else. I started boxing. And when I was boxing, I met Samuel Guille. You remember him?
Mm-hmm.
So he had like a Brazilian top team like T-shirt and a Brazilian top team pair of shorts, and we would spar. And then he was doing a professional career back then, and Sam was really in shape at that time, and he was lighting me up left and right. He was really good at that time. And when the gym, because I don't know if you know the history of the Hilton Boxing Club or the family in itself, but they're not the most stable family. So
I actually, not to cut you off, but I have. So when we grew up in Dorval, we lived in the same house right beside the airport for like basically my entire life. And when I was really young, like 8, 9 years old, the Hilton brothers moved in the house right in front of our house. So the cops were there almost every night, fights with women, them beating up on women in the street. It was a disaster, man. And they ended up getting forced out of the neighborhood. Like everyone just like revolted and were like, we need to kick the Hiltons out. And they ended up leaving. But yeah, it was bad.
So exactly. So for me, it's like, I remember. So the father was like coaching me a lot, and the father was super, super good. And they were a bit crazy. And just to tell you a little story, the father
was like that's how crazy they were. The father was like in his 60s, I think, when he was still teaching. And there's this guy that came out of jail, 220 pounds, pure muscle. He's like, "Oh, look at me! I know how to fight." And he's swinging his fist in front of his face. And he's like, "Son, please, I would really ask you not to like do these things. I really don't like it." And then it's like, "Oh, I'm ready to box." Well, everybody thinks because they lift weights, they're ready to fight and stuff, right?
Mhm.
So the old man warned him 2 or 3 times, and the guy was still like swinging his fist close to his face. It's like, "Oh, I'm ready, I'm ready." And then I saw the man just lose it and knock out the young guy. He was in his 20s. So the old man was really tough. But when then what? Well, of course, now you know all of their. You can even watch in YouTube their documentary, and then the gym closed down. So then I was looking for other boxing gyms, and I didn't really feel the same as and as in that gym. So I was like, you know what? I'll try jiu-jitsu. So
So just before you go on, Ramiro, was that how long ago was that at the Hilton gym?
I think I was like 21, 22 when I did boxing at the Hilton gym, and I stayed there for almost 3 years. Yeah, it's almost 3 years. And then
And how old are you now?
right now I'm 37.
So okay, so 15 years ago about.
Yeah.
Is that didn't they have a gym also like in Hudson or something like
No,
that?
no, no. That they had it in Villamart first, but it
Okay.
was like it was super packed and it was quite small. Uh, and they opened one in St. Harry. What that was, it was 2 floors. But I think at that time, Davey had like a guilty verdict against him,
Right.
and well, I don't want to get too much in details, but
Well,
you
it's all
can.
public knowledge
No,
anyways. I mean,
of course, but it's not very nice to speak about these things they did. And at the same time, what happened during that time, Hilton came back and fought this kid called Adam Green for like a comeback fight, but nobody would promote uh, Dave Hilton. He was
Mm.
pretty much finished when he came out
yeah,
of
yeah,
jail,
yeah. I
and he
remember
fought.
probably. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, he fought Adam Green, and then when he fought Adam Green, I don't know that he came back to the gym, and I don't know that it just plummeted. There's nobody coming back. Because there was so much bad publicity around, and like I spoke to all the Hilton family, and they were okay with me, but I kept my distance. Like I did boxing, and I learned boxing from them, but I never hung out with them
Yeah.
or they were just
You didn't rob any donut shops with them.
no, thank God. Thank
Well,
God.
when mine, I think it goes back a little bit further, maybe because I'm older than you, but um, I must have been like fucking 19. I think there was a guy named Joël Pigeon. Do you know this name?
No, no.
He was a like I want to say some kind of a Quebec champion. I don't want to say I don't know if it was kickboxing or boxing, and he trained with them.
No, 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 I
No,
don't.
anyway, I was working at a little bar in Dorion, and this guy started coming in just by himself, just to slam back a few drinks before he would go out or something like that. And we started talking to him, and after a few months, he told me, he says, "Yeah, I'm a boxer. You should come and train with us at the Hilton Gym. I'm like, "Oh yeah, fuck!" I was so stoked, man. I didn't know anything. I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So I told my dad, I go home. My dad and my uncles are at the house, and like, yeah, some guy came in and he's like, "Yeah, you should come and train with me with the Hiltons." My fucking uncles went crazy. You're not fucking going to train there.
No,
I
no,
didn't,
for sure. That's it. So they're not they don't have the best reputation, and they're if you look at their like you can watch a documentary on YouTube, the Hilton Boxing Clinic. It's actually very very like I found it very sad because they had a lot of potential. They were
yeah.
training with people like what Mike Tyson. They were
Oh, yeah.
like and Mike Tyson's like undercards, and two of them became world champions. So it was really sad to see that they didn't have out of boxing they didn't have any discipline.
Yeah.
But well, I think it happened for the best because sometimes I would have like these big headaches from boxing, And then when I tried jiu-jitsu, I tried. I remember I walked in. I asked if there was a class, and Fabio was like, "Oh, you're late, but come to next class." And he shook my hand. That was when Fabio was teaching at Gamma. So I came, and then the first class that I tried, there was a little guy. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna like I was 205 pounds there. I was like, oh, I'm really gonna kill this kid. And man, I tapped like 7 times in 6 minutes.
Who was that
And
kid?
I don't remember, man. There was one kid that was really strong, and I forgot because he quit. And then I fought this other guy, Greg Delila. He trained with us, I think, until he was a purple belt, but he wrestled, I think, in high school, and he was really, really athletic on top of that. And I'm not athletic at all, so he was really beating the crap out of me, and I was like, wow. I felt like I was drowning, and I was like, wow. I was like, this is really, really a lot better than I thought it would be. I thought it was like, because when you don't know jiu-jitsu and you look at it and from like a spectator's point of view, you say, oh, it looks kind of, it looks a little bit gay. like, like it feels weird, when you see it and you're like, oh man. But then when you start like watching it more and more, I started enjoying it more and more and more, and that's how it all started for me with jiu-jitsu. And then actually, and like Fabio wouldn't like, because he had a white belt class and a blue belt and higher. So I fought with white belts only, and there was like a couple of good guys there. But when I went to the blue belt class, uh, I fought with higher belts, and the first like time I felt like somebody distributing their weight correctly was with Phil Siegel.
I was just going to ask you if Professor Phil was there at that time.
Yeah. And he really was teaching me how to, because we're almost the same size, so he was teaching me really how to distribute my weight, some of his techniques. So I got to improve a lot with Phil.
It's funny that you mentioned like you were like when spectators take a look at it, they're like, oh man, like it looks, you use the term gay, but it's funny that you say that because I have two of my closest friends who are two guys who are in a relationship together. When I showed them jiu-jitsu for the first time, they were like, oh man, we could totally get into that. A bunch of sweaty guys just like dripping sweat on each other, and they were totally down for it. I mean, they've never come to do a class, but it was pretty funny because when you look on the outside, right, it's basically just a bunch of guys just holding on to each other. So if you don't understand the sport, it does look a kind of odd. At like the last tournament that we had actually at the Mastermind Cup, I invited my parents, and my parents came, and it was the first time they've ever seen jiu-jitsu in their lives. And they came, and my mom was just like so confused about the whole thing. They stayed maybe like 20 minutes, and it was really nice of them to come. But I
Yeah,
guess
but
if you don't know, it looks kind of
it's
odd.
tough. It's tough. You can't. I for example, I've never watched. I don't watch full matches. I can't. I get bored.
Yeah.
I can't. I've never watched a full match of jiu-jitsu
Well,
unless
it
it's
You,
depends.
it's sorry, it's kind of ridiculous when I go on the IBJJF page. I always watch the matches that are like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, like all those black belt matches, because I
Yeah,
know there's a finish coming,
yeah.
and I know I should watch like the 10-minute ones or the 9-minute ones, but like I don't have that much time, and I just like I watch all the short ones because I always want to see the finishes.
Yeah, and a lot of times, those fucking 10-minute ones are like a lot of time where you see both guys sitting there and they're both
They're in
looking at the clock.
50-50. Yeah, they're in 50
Fucking
50
looking at the
just
clock.
figuring.
It's
yeah.
awful.
No, but I've never. Funny enough, the only videos I've ever really seen, like completely, was Pedro Duarte's. He has a couple of fights online, and I've seen. Obviously Fabio's too. I've seen most of Fabio's online. just to learn because he was my teacher. And, well, he still is, and I consider like I wanted to see how he fought.
Mhm.
And
Do you watch videos, Brian? Do you watch any like YouTube stuff?
Yeah, I'm like you. Like,
there's one on YouTube, but he has one against Rob DiCenzo, and it was a really really nice technical fight. He has even some with one with Kenny Florian.
yeah, that one I saw. That's a pretty famous one, I think, for Fabio.
Yeah, well, I think so as well.
Yeah.
So I was watching, and I watched a couple of Pedro Duarte's or Pedro Duarte's Pedro Duarte's
Hey, John.
videos. So I've watched these two guys. I like watching Cascal too, and sometimes I like watching Zandy Ribeiro too.
Hmm.
But that's about it. I don't watch every single fight, and who fights who doesn't. I really don't. I don't enjoy that as much.
It's funny. People always ask me like if I keep, if I watch all the big matches and the big names and like it, like I know some of their names. For someone who does a jiu-jitsu podcast, I'm not up to date with like the latest jiu-jitsu guys and like the feuds or like what's going on and who's matched up next. Like I have a subscription to Flow Grappling, and when I'm bored, I have nothing to do. I know on Saturday night there's usually a fight to win, so I'll turn it on and just watch a bunch of matches because they have like blue belts and purple belts and brown belts fight. So it's like it's just normal jiu-jitsu people, right? So it's
Yeah.
like stuff that you'll encounter on a day-to-day basis.
The Metamorphoses are pretty good.
Yeah, the Morris, yeah, they were good.
And what's that other one they have now? Where it's like
Quintet.
five guys on one team against five guys on another team. What's that called?
Quintet.
The Quintet?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Yeah, that's pretty good too. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
that's
watching
actually
both. I like
that's a
watching
very
both.
that's a very good format of
Yeah.
I think they should do it here if there's a possibility of doing it. If
Well,
it's
I
actually
think
itself.
Do it here.
Somebody around here should maybe consider doing that. Right?
Yeah, I know this whole like waiting until things become legal thing. Like now we're talking about the corona and how no one can roll because there's corona. Like we have bigger problems in Quebec. Like even
Yeah.
when schools open back up and we can go train, we still can't compete in Quebec and like we still can't organize anything. But the second that green flag goes up and they're like, yes, we can start competing again in Quebec. I'm all in on that. I've always wanted to host my own tournament. Like that's really where I want to go and do like super fights and stuff like that. That's really the direction I want
First
to go.
one, Ray, you're gonna have it's gonna be called the Corona Cup.
Oh man, so Ramiro, you just got back. Not just got back. You've been back for how long from Abu Dhabi?
5 months. 5 months, I think. 5 months. Yeah.
Yeah. And how long were you there for teaching?
3 years and 2 months.
3 years and 2 months. So maybe tell us how like that all started in your experience there. I know you probably have a lot to talk about, or you've had a lot of experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk for a long time, but like to make it short, it's like uh how it happened is like because I was finishing my studies and then I was actually working for Revenue Canada and I hated that job. Um, I really hated it, and doing people's taxes and or like people would call and then I would have to talk about like child tax benefits and see what goes to who and sometimes you get really really dumb people calling and you can't hang up on these people and you have to explain everything by detail, but I don't want to do that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I had a good opportunity, a good offer, but then when I was working at Revenue Canada, I had no energy to do any jiu-jitsu at all. And I was only doing like twice a week. And at that time I was a purple belt. And I said, man, if it goes like this, I'll never have my black belt. And I decided, look, I don't have any responsibilities. So I was like, you know what? I'll quit the job and I'll do jiu-jitsu full time. So
Why didn't you have any motivation, Romero?
because I think it was I don't know. You work from a 9 to 5, and then you're exhausted, and you don't really like. I didn't like the job per se, but um, in order, I don't want to be just an average jiu-jitsu guy. I just somebody that trains twice a week, and I really wanted to be good as I possibly could. But and if you work at a full-time job, and at that time, I think it wasn't as feasible as today, because today you have a lot more jiu-jitsu gyms. So if your schedule doesn't work that day, there's another gym that's open that and then you can go train. It wasn't as you don't have that many gyms as there is today, and I don't have like the resources I have today. Like now, I have a car, so I can go pretty much anywhere I want, and if I can do a training anywhere I want, that would be fine. But back then, I just had a bus pass, and I don't know. And at the same time, Fred offered me to teach Muay Thai. I was doing Muay Thai with Sana at BTT, and I did that for almost 3 years as well. And the boxing helped me understand Muay Thai quite easier. So I was teaching also after at Fred's, and I said, "You know what? I'll get a car, whatever." And I went full blast. So I was teaching jujitsu. I was training jujitsu almost full time, and training Muay Thai, a lot of Muay Thai, and teaching at the same time. But that was like, and I was bouncing in the weekends. So it was the most fun I've ever had. I didn't have a boring day.
Hmm.
Like every day was like awesome, but at the end of the day, I wanted more, because I started to be a little older, and then I'm like, I can't do this forever. I can't be bouncing and getting drunk people out, and you don't know. It's a bit dangerous working in these things, but it paid well. So one day, I was close to receiving, not too far from receiving my black belt, and Fabio's like, "Listen, there's a project in Abu Dhabi," and he sent it through WhatsApp, and he's like, "Anybody who wants to go to Abu Dhabi, give your name." So I was like, "All right." You see, there's 8 guys giving their names. I was like, "Okay, I'll go. I'll go if it's for real. I don't care. I have to find out for myself how it is to go there." So, uh, but I didn't think it was serious, so I was like, "Yeah, whatever. I'll just put my name."
I'll go to Abu Dhabi. Man,
Yeah, yeah, that's it. So I was like, whatever. And one day, out of the blue, it's like I'm walking and I'm heading towards the gym, and I get like a message on my email, and it says contract for Abu Dhabi, da 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 da, more or less these dates, and I'm not sign here. We need it by next week if you're coming. I was
wow.
like, oh fuck. I'm like, is this real? I'm like, oh my god. So I got like kind of scared. And at the beginning, I think we were like 8 guys. Yeah, we're gonna get an apartment together. Yeah, it's all gonna be BTT. Blah blah blah. And then I was like, okay, that might be cool. And you have an image of the place, like, wow, it's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be jiu-jitsu every day. We're gonna get paid well to do jiu-jitsu. What a dream job. And then, well, long story short, we don't hear anything, and it's the month of July. They said more or less, when can you come? Me and Samba, which is another black belt from Fabio's, like, we're like, okay, we'll say around the end of July. So it's, let's say, the 10th of July, and it says, okay, you have a ticket around the 24th or something like that. I don't remember exactly the date. He's like,
Wow.
so we had like a week and a half to get rid of all of our stuff.
Hmm.
And I had to get rid, like, I just signed a lease for another year. So I made a deal with my landlords, and they understood, and they had to do renovations in my apartment anyway, so they were happy for me, and they were happy that I was leaving. And I said my goodbyes to my girlfriend and my family and everything. and we were supposed to be like I think like probably like 8, and we were 3,
Wow.
and then it was like, man, I'm actually in the plane, and we're like taking a plane through Turkish Airways, and we're going to do a stop in Turkey. And I was like, man, I've never been out of like the American continent. I like I always went to like Latin America, but I never went to Europe or any of these places. But Latin America is where like I always love to go. And then when we went to we flew, and I couldn't believe it was happening. It was like surreal. At the same time, I'm crying because I'm leaving all my family behind,
Yeah.
and then I'm sobbing. Except for like Samba. Samba's like, "Oh, shut up." You know, Samba's used to traveling all the time, and we had another Brock with us too. And then after we left, and that's it. And then we got there. It was I think it was like a 20-hour flight, and
I
we got
honestly don't think I could survive a 20-hour flight. And like we have family members that go to Argentina all the time, and it's crazy like how long you have to stay like seated in a plane
yeah,
and kind of wait
yeah,
and try to
man.
figure out how to sleep. I don't know how you did it.
No, but it's like you get. I think you get used to it. Honestly, you get. It's never easy, but you get used to it.
Mm.
And at the same time, when we got there, uh, we got there at the month of like July, right? And it was like, man, you get at the airport. It's nice. It's a nice airport. It's really well maintained. And when you we got out of the airport, just feel this heat wave come out.
How hot is it in July? Is that like they're like midsummer? Like,
It's close to it could go up to like 50, 51 degrees. Man, it was like, and it's humid. Like it's more humid than what you get in here in Montreal.
wow.
It's a heat that you cannot imagine. And I hate the heat. I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
So I was like, oh my God. And I walked because there's a chauffeur that came to pick us up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm really gonna like maybe what did I do? What am I doing here? So we left, and when we got there, we you see like the Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Mosque, and you're
Mhm.
like, wow, we're really here. And it's actually beautiful. The first time you see it, you're like, wow.
Mhm.
We got in, and we got in our hotel. And Samba has a lot more experience at that time of traveling than me. So Samba already knew where the good room was. So he jumped, he got the nice room, and me and Brock like had to sleep in separate beds. But he had like a big queen size bed, and I was like, no, 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 I'm going to the living room. And when we got there, it's we get a call from reception and saying, "Oh, they're gonna come pick you up in the morning." But we just got there. I think it was like we got there at the hotel at 2 in the morning, and I
Wow.
couldn't sleep. I was still like jet lagged, and the
This
phone
was
rang.
you and Samba. Who else? Was there? Just you two?
No, and Brock.
Oh, and Brock. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So then we get a call like at 5:40 or something like that, 5:30, and it says they said, "Oh, you have to come to the interview." I had slept like 15 minutes.
Okay. Just
So I was
before we
like,
get any further, because there's a lot of people that are going to listen to this that don't know who Brock is and stuff like that. So Brock is another black belt from BTT,
mhm.
French Canadian guy. His nickname
Yeah,
is
very good guy. Very
yeah,
good.
very good guy. And he went with you guys for this opportunity with you and Samba,
Yeah,
right?
of course. He went.
Okay. So tell us
So,
about the interview.
oh yeah, so we got there, and they told us to change, so we changed, and we're like we're fairly new, more new black belts,
Yeah.
and all you see is like you see like we're getting into an interview, but there's approximately, I think there's like 30 black belts around, and there was 2 brown belts, and all the black belts had like second or third degrees, and you're like, wow, we're gonna have to compete for that with them for the
So you
job.
guys are all competing for the same positions,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. So we had to compete for the job, and I was like, oh my god, because there was a lot of 4th-degree black belts too.
Did you,
It-
sorry, Ramiro, did you explain what the job actually was, what the job description is
oh well, what
to
we were
us?
told is we're gonna teach the military, and
So the job
I,
interview was for you to teach the military.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So when we got there, it's like so we see like 30 black belts, and I'm like, oh, all right. So it started getting intimidating, and we're like in a tiny room, and I didn't know what was gonna happen. And then they start like giving us like these extra like English written exam. But like me, Samba, and Alex, we finished it like in 2 minutes, and the rest of the Brazilians are still looking at their papers. I was like, okay, there's advantages of like, I'm like, all right, they're looking at the whole ensemble of the coach, and look, and most of these Brazilians that were there didn't speak fluent English. There was exceptions, but a lot of them were really good guys, really, really good people. And
I think you were saying too that these guys, the Brazilian black belts that were there too, that their jiu-jitsu was very high level too.
really high level, high, and like when they were doing like a couple of interviews, Pedro Duarte comes walking to the interview, and my heart starts beating like really hard because like, oh crap, like I would Pedro Duarte was like one of my favorite jiu-jitsu guys, and I see him in front of me, and I was like, what the hell? He's like really respected from everybody there.
So
Everybody loves.
what would bring him to Abu Dhabi?
Well, it's the fact that it's a good opportunity to make money with jiu-jitsu, and it's like it's not look, it's not for everyone, but it is a good opportunity.
But he wasn't
And
there for the same reason you were there.
well, I think we most of the people are there because I was there mostly because I wanted to like see the world, and at the same time learn more jiu-jitsu, and learn new techniques, and get to fight different styles.
But
And
Duarte,
and
What I mean is he wasn't there to have an interview for the same position that you were applying
of
for.
course not. No. He's like he's already made
What
there.
was his purpose there?
I don't know. I think it's because
he came to
like
some
but
stacks
he
of
has a
cocaine.
lot. No. He has a lot of work like anywhere, and at the same time he knew we were like he has a friendship with Fabio, and he knew that we were Fabio's students, and he came to check up on us as well. He
He
just
must have black belts there too, right? Teaching.
uh him.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex. I'll get to Pedro after, but Pedro's it's a little bit of a different situation that he has. But if he's highly respected there, he is, and his jiu-jitsu is one of the best I've seen. As a competitor, he's super good, but as a teacher, wow, I can't say enough good things about Pedro.
So you got a chance to learn under him too then while you were there.
Yes. I was
Cool.
really lucky. I consider myself very, very, very lucky.
Okay, so continue now with the interview thing.
No, so that's it. So when we got to afterwards to like a big mega gymnasium, and there was like they told us, okay, go change and whatever, put like a uniform. Well, we're already in our uniforms there, but we went to another side of the gymnasium, and then there's like a major sitting down smoking and it's waiting for us, and then we're like,
Did he look
oh
like
no.
Brian?
No. He was like a lot bigger. Like man. So it looked like he had like I would say not like power, or like he commanded respect. So and so we were all lining up and sitting down, and then after he's like, okay, 2 by 2, I want you to show me 2 techniques that would be good for the military. So some of the Brazilians were doing like fancy berimbolos and stuff like that, and it was one after the, and he started like really flipping out because he's like, guys, I don't want sports jiu-jitsu. I want jiu-jitsu for the military. You have to imagine somebody is coming to punch you or hit you with a knife. And just when he says that, somebody does like like goes for a leg lock and gives his back. And he loses it, and he tells his assistant, "Oh, just take care of this. I don't wanna deal with this."
So dumb.
So, but it's dumb, yes or no, but because like most of the guys are from Brazil, and they don't know how to speak English, so they don't know what he was asking.
Yeah.
So then he goes to, I think, to Samba first. Samba does like a nice demonstration. He doesn't complain. He's happy with Sambas. He comes with me, and I show my demonstration. And luckily, I had a good partner too that exaggerated the movements.
Yeah.
Like I had Samba. I did like an Osoto Gari, and Samba like jumped like 3 feet in the air, and I was like wow. So, but like they were, because they told me, okay, if somebody strikes you, how would you do? Would block this certain way, and then luckily I've done a bit of like a Muay Thai, and it really helped. So the major was really happy, and he didn't say anything. Well, we all finished the demonstration, and we go to like an interview face to face. And when we're with him face to face, he's asking us our background, like he's asking us our background, what do we do, what is it exactly that like what studies we've done, how many languages we speak. So when I told him like I studied accounting, and I did history, and then I studied I speak 4 languages, he's like, whoa, really? And he's like, when did you have the time for to do a black belt? Or, and I was like, I was like, well, I don't know, I trained a lot. And then he's like, oh, good. Well, it's very, he's like, and then he's like, I heard that you don't like Muslims very much. And I was like, what?
What?
Like he threw me off of it. I was like, what? I was like, is it still like a trick question?
Mhm.
And then he's like, I heard you didn't like Muslims very much. I'm like, well, I don't think I would be in your country if I didn't like Muslims. It's like I grew up with Lebanese Muslims, and I'm fine with it. And then he's like, yeah, you grew up with Lebanese Muslims. He's like, how? And he's like, how do you say? What does it mean? Inshallah. I was like, it means if God wants, if God's will. And then they all started smiling. They're like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
God, fucking everybody knows that.
Wow.
I did not. I was about to say it means infidel. I have no idea. I had no idea.
Well, so then after there was my boss, that guy that would become my boss. He goes, oh, because your boss told me that you were a big liar. And I was like, you can tell my boss that I never said these things, and I never said nothing. And like in front of my boss, I was like, and if he said these things to you, he's a big liar. And I was like, yeah. He started laughing, and when we got out of the interviews, I think it went super well for Samba as well. So obviously he got the job, and then he goes, Ramiro and Samba, I'm gonna remember your names. And in the interview, you said we're gonna send you in bases that it's not gonna be shopping malls. So are you ready to do it? I'm like, can I bring books? He's like, yes. So I don't care. Just let me read my books, and I'll be fine wherever you send me. So
what
when
happened
all
to
that
Brock?
happened,
Brock
we
didn't
get the
get
job. Sorry?
Brock didn't get it.
No, unfortunately, well, I don't know more. I don't want to talk too much about those details. If he wants to say it, that's up to him. But
There's details.
I mean, I don't want to talk about like it wasn't something I want to talk about it because it wasn't
It's not really your place, too. He didn't
yeah.
get it for his own
Okay, so
reason.
you didn't get it. That's it.
Yeah.
But I don't feel comfortable to talk about this because that's it. Just don't feel comfortable.
Did the general ask him to do a little sucky sucky and he refused?
No, I'm not joking.
Maybe they were racist against French
Uh,
Canadians.
Maybe.
I don't know what happened. That's like if he wants to tell his side of the story, it's one thing, but I'm not here to.
So then you ended up teaching at a military base, right?
Yeah. After that, they sent us to a military base, and we had to stay there like a complete week. It was 1 week on, 1 week off.
And how were the military people accepting that you were there to teach jiu-jitsu?
I mean,
Somewhat.
somewhat. They don't like. It's not what you like. They. How can I put it? Like some of the military love jiu-jitsu, and a lot of them don't. It's quite normal. If it's like if you told me that one day they make it mandatory in my country to play hockey, I would hate it.
Well, it's the same thing here, technically. There's a reason why the whole population isn't doing jiu-jitsu. It's because jiu-jitsu is not necessarily for everyone, right? You have a
Exactly.
small percentage of people who want to do it. So if you're forcing something upon people who didn't sign up to do jiu-jitsu, they signed up for something completely out, and now all of a sudden you're be like, no, you're gonna have to do some jiu-jitsu and learn this. Some people probably weren't down for it at all.
Yeah, I don't yeah, but pretty much. But when I went there, it's like there's a couple of guys that liked it, but a lot of guys were forced to do it in order to
So
move up
forced
in rankings.
because they made jiu-jitsu part of their military curriculum, I guess. Is that what it is?
Well, the thing is, like, one of the sheiks that has a lot of influence in Abu Dhabi, actually, his kid started doing it, and he saw how his kid started improving physically and mentally. And then he decided that if it worked for my kid, it's going to work for my people as well.
Yeah.
So he decided that it would be the best thing for because he put it in the education system and in the military as well.
Or in the
So
education system also.
yeah.
Oh,
Kids
wow.
have to do it throughout the whole high school, from even primary school.
Amazing.
That's
So
cool.
I think they're doing a lot of good things that, I mean, a lot of the kids don't like it, but the thing is, like, when they do like it, some of the kids, it's still a new program. It's not super old.
Yeah.
So there might
Sorry,
there's gonna
just let me interrupt for 1 second, Ramiro. Sorry, it's funny because I was just going to say it probably hasn't been in effect that long because my boss is actually he's originally Pakistani, but he was born and raised in Abu Dhabi. He lived there for like 30 years before he came to Canada. One of my bosses. He lives in Western Canada now, but he it wasn't in effect when he was there, but he's very familiar with jiu-jitsu just because of the popularity that it had there, I guess, or whatever.
well, I wouldn't say it's the most popular sport because they love their football, not soccer like you guys call it, but whatever,
Yeah,
call it soccer for you
yeah,
guys. But
soccer, European.
they love their soccer. They love it. They really love it. They that's their. I think that's more the national sport. But is jiu-jitsu growing? I think throughout the time I was there, yes, it was.
And were you teaching gi and no gi, or?
When I was there, they did only gi. But sometimes I would teach no gi because sometimes they didn't have the gi,
Okay.
or they didn't provide the gi yet, and they were starting the program.
Okay.
So I adjusted to that, but it was the majority of the time people love gi over there.
And what I'm just curious, what kind of gis were they wearing, and where were they getting these gis from?
Well, that's most of the time the government supports them with anything they want for jiu-jitsu.
So
Like
was
if
it
it's
like what was it like a specific brand of geese, or could
no,
they?
no, no.
Something.
It's military. It's their own geese.
Oh
But
yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah, man. I'm telling you that the government takes really care of them.
Hmm.
They get like really, really. Even if they're gi rips, they get a new one right away,
Hmm.
and they can ask for a bunch of them.
That's cool.
And
Did you end up promoting anybody while you were there?
well, because they have their own ranking system.
Okay.
So there's no, because we work for the company, and we're not allowed to like put um I can't say, oh, he's Brazilian. I can't put one of my students and say, oh, he's a Brazilian top team and he's my student now. No, he has to go by the military ranking system, and then he ranks through that. But me to put it like my own team and stuff like that is illegal. I don't. There's guys that tried to do that and they get reprimanded. They get a warning.
Okay. Were you able to suggest that certain people
No,
get
I don't
right?
want to. I don't
Not
want.
even.
I've never promoted anybody with like with a belt, and I don't think
Okay, so then how did it work? Everybody that you started teaching, they're all new to jiu-jitsu, brand new gis and white belts?
well, in the military at that time it was quite new. It was only like I think a year and a half or two. So it was quite new, and at the same time they were making a program where they have an attendance like sort of an attendance sheet, and you sign off. Then uh, after a certain amount of classes, they can go do like first stripe, second stripe, third stripe, fourth stripe, and blue belt.
Hmm.
But the way they did it is really, I think, was really smart, because they did like they did it like for you and I, this would be like super easy, but slowly and slowly and slowly they start making it harder and harder and harder and harder. So it forced them to train more and more and more. So they're they're implementing a good system, I think. But I also think there's certain things that could have been done better as well. But there's always that possibility. There's always gonna, nothing is perfect, right?
Yeah, there's always room for improvement.
Of
But
course.
now the guys that didn't, because you said some people liked it, some people didn't like it. For the
Mhm.
guys that didn't like it, how did that go?
Well, they just don't. They don't move up in ranking. That's it. That's all.
Okay.
That's their problem after. If they're
But
gonna
they
tell them,
they can't. I guess they had to show up. Is that what it was? Is that how it worked?
they have to show up, yeah, for sure. If they want to move up, but they have to train, and that's it.
Did you ever
And
have guys that didn't show up or didn't want to show up or whatever? Like,
yeah, but that's not my problem. At the end of the day, if they don't want to show up, that's their
Because you're
problem.
yeah, because you're there to teach a class, whether
That's
it's
it.
3 people or 50 people, you're there to teach, right?
Exactly. So that's not my problem. If they want to come and they don't want to come, at the end of the day, I'm there, and they tell me just what time I have to be there, or how many classes they want. I'm supposed to be working 6 days out of 7, and they asked, even on the weekends I worked on my day. Well, because I was 7 days on, 7 days off, so I was working the 7 days. So whatever schedule they asked me, that I would do.
Man, I would have a hard time. I honestly don't know if I'd be able to do that. Like not be able to spend so much time with people and not be able to promote the ones that actually want to be there, that actually want to learn jiu-jitsu. Like I personally, for me, I think I would find that really hard, especially because if it is a mixed bag and you have people who don't want to be there and don't want to train, and then you have a part of people that actually want to be there and actually want to progress, not having any control over the guys that are doing really well and their progression. I don't know. I would have a hard time with that, but that's just me.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't know. For me, it's like, listen, the way
You,
I see it, you see it completely different from me.
yeah,
The way
because you saw it as a job, right?
the way I see it is like, look, they hired me for something,
Hmm.
and the way I saw it is like, listen, they told me this and this and this is what I want, and I don't want you to promote guys. So for me, it's like, No problem.
Fine. Go for it.
Tell me where. Tell me where and where I have to work, and I'm here to work. Tell me the directive, and that's it. I don't complain. I don't do anything, and I just go to work. But
Your speaking French help you in any possible way, or was it you?
Yes, it did
Okay.
a lot, because
How?
there's a big Moroccan community over there, and most of them studied in France, and they're physiotherapists.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if I had a problem, I had a problem with my knee, which was rare, but they would come and I would go and ask for like can I ask can you check what's wrong with my knee, or if I had a problem with my lower back, can you go check, and they had equipments to to really they had good knowledge and equipment to really heal you up, and it was like provided by the military, so it
Hmm.
was quite good. Helped me in that aspect, and at the same time, the Moroccan community was really nice to me over there. They showed me around Abu Dhabi. They showed me around the nice cheap places, cheap restaurants to go eat,
Hmm.
and good, really good food. And I became really good friends with them. That's how French helped me out there.
Well, I was going to ask you, since you were working sometimes 7 days on, 7 days off, what did you do during your downtime?
I mean, there's nothing to do. Like
Really?
you're in a base. There's like, in the first base there was like no internet.
Play in
Wow.
the sand.
So like, man, either you buy your own internet on your phone, but it costs a lot of money,
Okay.
and that's what I did. I had like 10 or 12 gigs on my phone, but after the third, like my second week coming back, it would be at the end of the week. It would be gone by then.
Man,
And
I'll be honest with you, so far, I would never, ever go do that in Abu Dhabi based on everything that you've said so far. I'm like,
yeah,
no
but
internet, you don't get to socialize with people. You don't get to go out very often. The
nah,
people
nah,
that training, not all of them want to
that's
be
the
there
way
all
you
the
see
time.
it.
Like, meh.
No, 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 no. But that's the way you see it. The way I saw it is like I got to meet a completely new culture. So I got to meet a lot of guys from there and understand their culture. They were teaching me a lot of Arabic. I was
Okay.
using that time to learn a lot of Arabic about their culture. Look, I was in a very fortunate position because we don't come from the same part of the world.
Mhm.
Like, for example, I'll give you one example. Over there, they have 5, 6, 7 brothers, and they have tons of cousins. They don't need a friend that's an outsider. They don't. They have like distant relatives. So they don't. They. It's a really close society because they don't need outsiders. They like imagine you had 7 brothers. Would you really need to have friends? Or
Yes.
and on top of that, you have cousins your own age, and you have a bunch of them. So you
Yeah.
don't need to have friends outside of the family. And uh, they were very welcoming with me, and they explained some of the culture. They brought me in. I ate some of their food. It was really enriching, as I would say, and I got to learn. Like everybody thinks, oh, they're not smart, and they're not. It's not true, man. A lot of these guys went to study in England. Some went to study in France. Some went to study in Switzerland.
Hmm.
So the country's slowly changing, and the government is just investing a lot in their education.
This is probably a stupid question, but I'm assuming there weren't any women at the military base.
Of course not.
I don't know. I'm just asking. I mean, I'm pretty white. If I move my head to the light, you could actually see how white I am. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty white. No, I don't know. I thought maybe they're. I don't know.
No,
So,
no, no. You're
so
they're
Rivero, you were there for how long?
3 years.
And there's no women.
I mean, it's not what.
So
No,
you got a lot of pugneta or what?
no, no, no. Listen to me. It's not what I don't go that for that. It's so like I
Well,
went
I
there.
know you don't go there for that, but I
And
mean,
he has a girlfriend. He
what,
has a
what?
girlfriend here in Montreal that he came home to, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of Skype calls with the girlfriend late at night, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah. A lot of Skype calls for the girlfriend.
And
Yeah,
and
that was.
and how did she find you being away for so long?
It was really tough.
It was
It
tough.
was really, 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 really difficult.
I,
I
I
didn't get to see my family after I think 9 months.
hmm.
I spent 9 months over there, and then spent 5 weeks in Montreal, and then I had to go fly back again, and it was really tough. It was
Are you
really
still
difficult.
are you still with the same girl now?
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow,
yeah.
she toughed it out the whole time.
Yeah,
Of
I was
course.
there like every week, and she kept complaining. Oh, when is he coming back?
Nah, 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 nah. She
So
wouldn't speak to you too.
Where were you staying? How was the living arrangements? That 1 week on, 1 week off thing. How did that
Listen,
work?
listen. I'll explain you something. It was like the living arrangements that we had was awesome. I have to say, because at the same hotel that they put us in, we went, and I negotiated with the manager saying like, look, we'll stay with you, and we just leave our luggages and stuff, and then 1 week on, 1 week off. That was it.
And the manager of the
But that's
hotel.
yeah, but that's very common in Abu Dhabi because
Okay.
there's so many hotels and there's so many hotel apartments.
And were you living alone, or did you have roommates?
I had roommates.
Who did you have as roommate? You staying with Samba?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Nope. Well, it's true. What am I gonna say?
Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy. Though. Honestly, I try to put myself in your shoes to leave everything behind, to leave my family and my girlfriend, and to go off to Abu Dhabi for 3 years. Man, it's a fun experience because now you're back and you lived everything. You came back and you're like, girlfriend's still there, jiu-jitsu still, well, kind of jiu-jitsu's still kind of here in a way or another. But what's your plan now? Like, just because I mean, we see you every now and then on the mats. Like, do you want to teach here? Do you want to continue training? Do you?
I don't know. For now, it's like I I just wanted to take a break from it. I
Yeah,
was really tired of it. After one point, doing jiu-jitsu every day, teaching it every day, I was, and it's nothing that I don't want to speak to anybody or I don't want to train with anybody or specific. I really don't have anything against anybody.
you just need
And
to take a little break.
yeah, man, I really did. And it's like for me, to be honest, I'm always gonna love Fabio, and for me, Fabio, Cascal, and Pedro are always gonna be my coaches. So all these three people like were a big influence for me, and for sure, I still love training, but don't I don't feel the same anymore. I don't feel like I don't know. I just don't feel the same for now. I don't feel the same doing jiu-jitsu again, and of course I want to train from time to time, not to lose the skills. But I really needed a long break.
Hmm.
I was really tired. Like it was like almost 10 years nonstop of
Well,
doing jiu-jitsu. And I'm very tired of it. I wish I would have competed more, but it's either that or I paid my expenses and lived well and I ate well, or I compete and sometimes I don't like. Sometimes I don't. It would be really money would be tight.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of competing, so before the Abu Dhabi thing, did you compete a lot while you were
no,
coming up
I
in
did.
jiu-jitsu?
I look. To be honest with you, like I competed because like Fabio would push me all the time. Honestly, um, I Fabio would push me all the time to compete. Honestly, if it wasn't maybe for Fabio, I wouldn't have competed the times I did because I hate it. I hate competing with a
You hated
passion.
competing?
Yeah,
Why?
because it's like you you pay for the inscription and then you have to watch your diet and then like if I don't watch my diet, I fight super heavyweights.
Yeah.
So then I have to watch my diets and like I remember one Abu Dhabi I lost like 30 pounds and it was so bad. It was like I was suffering so much and then I was like, okay, and what do I get? Like a $2 medal? Like what? Like I don't know. It's like so
That's
stupid.
not what it's about. Come on.
For me, it's what it is about. Like, what's the point of
Yeah.
doing all this?
that's
Yeah.
It's like if you can't make a living out of it, like, what's the point? Like, I'm not gonna kill myself to make all these competitions and lose a lot of money, and I can't make a living when I get back home. It's I find it a bit silly. And
Uh,
but it
are,
doesn't mean I don't love jiu-jitsu. I love it.
yeah, for sure. Ray, are you have more questions about like Abu Dhabi or
About Abu Dhabi?
yeah? I just don't
No.
want to go off topic if we're still gonna.
Oh, you could totally go off topic now. Yeah, I find it super interesting. Like I said, I don't know if I'd be able to do it, especially now with kids. Obviously, you don't have any kids around, so it's a little easier for you to get up and,
Yeah.
it's still hard because you have your family and your girlfriend and everything. But man, even going out there and teaching, I mean, I find it rough. I mean, I have to say, teaching here locally, I mean, locally where I have to travel an hour to teach, there's not a single night that I'm like, I don't want to go. Or like I feel too tired to go, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go teach again.
Yeah. I mean,
It's new. It's still new to me. So therefore, I'm still on that hype. I haven't been teaching every day. You know what I mean? For 3 years or 3.5 years, I think I would mentally break down also, and I would definitely need a break from jiu-jitsu if I was teaching that much.
yeah, for sure. But for me, it's like, I don't know. For me, I love jiu-jitsu per se. It's like it was, especially like Fabio style. I don't know. I stuck with Fabio style because Fabio's like really. I think he's self-defense first, and then the sport second. I really feel like, because I worked as a bouncer, and I really feel like, man, a lot of I've like, man, I could defend myself very well when I was bouncing, and I've seen other guys that were Fabio students in action that were working with me, and it's like, man, so it so I'm just saying, it's like I like that style. I like the I like teaching myself, but to say it was tough, and you really have to love it to stay there, and but there was perks. I mean, I can't say it was bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It like I'll give you an example. I got to see like so many places around the world because of it. You know, I went to Finland. I went to Kenya with Louis. I stayed at Louis' place in Kenya, and like I got to see so many beautiful things in Kenya and in Finland as well. Um, I got to meet so many people in Finland and see a different style of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I was about to say, did you learn anything? You obviously learned a lot when you were there, but are there any techniques that you brought home with you that we just
Yeah,
don't do very often or don't see very
yeah,
often?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of course, but like I trained with some of the guys. I was staying with this guy Marco in Finland, and he's a specialist in wrist locks.
Okay.
And he was getting me. He got me a couple of times in wrist locks that I've never seen in different angles that I've never seen before. And one day he took the time to teach me for like 40 minutes all the wrist locks that he did.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
it was really fun. Finland was super nice. It was I think one of my favorite places to visit. So and the jiu-jitsu there is really good. So my boss in Abu Dhabi was the one that set up. Well, he was the founder, you can say, of jiu-jitsu in Finland.
Isn't
Uh,
that where Christian is from?
I don't know.
No, he's
No.
is he from he's from Denmark.
Oh, Denmark.
Yeah, he's Danish.
Yeah.
You mean Jerry Curl?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry
So
Curl! Shout out to Jerry Curl,
yeah.
the
no,
Fruitless King.
so that's it. So for me, it's like I I don't know. They had a good they have a good base, and it was really they had really good black belts too, and the jiu-jitsu there in Finland is really good too. The guy that set it up there it's Lucio Linares, and he fought in the UFC. He was like 19-8. He fought Toquinho Palhares, and it was a really good fight. So the it was really like Finland was really good, but Abu Dhabi also. Abu Dhabi, like sometimes with when Pedro was teaching in the military, we would be around 50 black belts, classes of 50 black belts, and it was 1 hour and a half of sparring, nonstop,
Wow.
only with black belts, and it was really awesome. And at the same time, Pedro was teaching a couple of techniques, and it was, I think it was super good. Like I said, and I don't know, it gave me opportunities to fly, like I said, all over the world. I went to Thailand too. I stayed with Mac. I don't know if you ever met Mac.
No.
He's one of Fabio's friends, um, and he's a retired pilot there. He's super. He has a super nice place, and I went to train with the guys at Phuket top team there,
Oh, cool.
and it was super good. Man, Thailand was one of the best places I've ever been, and it's very cheap. All you do is jujitsu and all day and Muay Thai, and then go to the beach.
Hmm.
It was super nice.
That sounds like a nice life.
Wow, it was nice while it lasted, but
Yeah.
after at one point, like, because I didn't have that deal anymore that I can have like time off in 1 week or 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So they sent me to another base, and then my expenses. I don't know. It wasn't as cheap as to live anymore. I had to look for a place and stuff, and I was working with people that were not like very, they were not not the easiest people to work with.
How
So
do you mean?
sorry,
How do you mean?
because you work with guys that sometimes, because they are higher ranked in jiu-jitsu, they think they can boss you around.
Ah,
But they have the gym mentality, but they don't understand that it's not the gym. It's a corporate mentality.
okay.
So it's I have a higher degree belt than you, then it's your turn to go teach.
Mm.
You go teach, but at one point when you're teaching, all like we're two guys always teaching the same classes, it starts to get annoying.
Yeah, and I guess it's also with people who have lots of experience in jiu-jitsu that might be higher ranked in jiu-jitsu, but might not have that much experience working for a corporation or for a
No,
business, right?
yeah, that's the main challenge as well too.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. That's a big problem over there because you have guys that only have done jiu-jitsu all their lives, and
And now they have
unfortunately,
to work for somebody.
yeah. So now they're working for somebody, and they don't like it too much,
Mm.
and it's very like they complain about the company, the workplace, but at the same time, it's like, man, they're not treating us bad, and we already know what's the deal. We already know what's the job.
You signed up for it, right?
Exactly. And I would argue with them a lot. I'm like, you're not happy. Why don't you just go?
Yeah.
And if you're not happy, go home. It's like if you think you're gonna be doing better at home, but some of these guys have been doing MMA and they were punch drunk and you couldn't have a conversation with these guys.
Hmm.
So that was the tough part I found over there. A lot of it was tough too, being away from home, and then you get to appreciate more uh, the
Once-
things that you have here. Yeah, you do. You really do. I
So
I, I
tell
don't.
us, tell us
Yes.
a little bit about. You said you were a bouncer before.
Yeah.
Uh, that was in Montreal.
Yeah.
And where can you anything interesting happening with jiu-jitsu, whatever, like any action?
Well, like, yeah, there was always action. Like, there was always like, yeah, there was always action. Like, when it's impossible that you don't, like, you go to be a bouncer, you're not gonna get into like fights. There's always idiots.
Ramiro, just so you know, if you look at Brian's face in the camera and the
Yeah.
fact that he's looking down at his phone, what's happening in this exact moment?
I'm reading
Professor
listener reviews. Listeners have questions.
Professor Phil is sending
No.
messages because he does it to me too, and then asks him to ask you questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Questions like, tell us about anything, any kind of Lee Villeneuve stories.
No, I can't say it
You can't say it. Why not?
because it's like Lee has a school and we did get into fights, but
Okay, let me phrase the question. Any interesting stories including some other people that are high-level jiu-jitsu fighters?
Sorry.
Do you have any stories that involve any other high-level, jiu-jitsu practitioners that you experienced while you were a bouncer?
Yes, of course.
Can you tell us anything without divulging any names?
Well,
Ray will cut out the first part.
no, because
No, I won't.
no, I can't. No, I can tell you stories in the sense like, man, there's guys that when they have like liquid courage,
Yeah,
they think they're like so invincible.
invincible.
I will tell you one from Lee.
Okay, good. This is one you can tell us.
That one is hilarious because there's like we were working at this French bar, and there's this guy with like big gold chains and big golden rings, and he had like two like Grey Goose bottles. So he paid like a lot of money for those two bottles, and he was spraying the like alcohol, like vodka, on all these like beautiful women. And
What else would you do with 2 bottles of Grey Goose?
Yeah. So, but a lot of people were complaining about this guy. So then Lee grabs his bottles and he's like, "You're gonna go outside now. I'm kicking you out." The guy's like, "Who the hell you think you are?" And Lee starts pushing him. And I'm laughing. I'm not doing anything. And then Lee's like, he's pushing. And then he goes in. He opens the taxi. We were outside, and then he opens it. The taxi's like, "Ah ouais, back tabarnak, and then he gives us like a kick in the ass, and the guy falls inside the cab. He closes the door of the cab. The cab leaves, and I think the cab did a turn around the block, and he comes back, and he's like, I paid a lot of money for those bottles. You're gonna let me, because I was working outside. He's like, you're gonna let me in, and you'll see. You won't be able to do anything. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna let you in. I'm not supposed to, but I'm not too sure if my colleague inside is gonna be happy to see you. But well, I was like, but that's up to you. And the guy goes in, and Lee really like kicks him out, picks him up, throws him inside the cab, kicks him in the chest, closes the door, and he's like, "Je t'ai dit de pas le laisser rentrer, toi." I was like, "Lee, I'm sorry, I didn't see him at all." He's like, je l'ai dit that, man, because that's one of my stories, but that's like PG. Like I don't want to go into
story.
Like.
I'm disappointed in that story, man. Come on.
I can't, man. And Phil knows already some of these stories, but I can't say it. Like some of them really like were really bad. Guys trying to be like guys are trying to be tough with Lee, and then I'll be like, oh my god, and they would go flying like Osoto Gary, one punch and knock out. Yeah.
Which club was that at?
Huh?
Brian is really.
Which club was that?
Nah. I want to. Come on, Brian.
You can't say the name of the club.
Brian is an investigative reporter and needs to know.
What's the harm in saying the club? There's no harm there.
Well, I don't have any. It was in Hochelaga.
Is it even open still?
Yeah. Well, they changed the name.
Okay, so
it's called Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Oh, fuck, that's a fake name.
I swear.
All right, guys. Ramiro, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. The reason why I'm stopping it now because Brian and Phil are relentless and will not stop these barrage questions.
Okay, one more.
Okay, one more. Go.
Ramiro, I don't know if whoops. Sorry. I don't know if I don't know where this was, if it was Gamma or whatever, but can you, and I won't mention any names, right? But it's still a pretty fucking hilarious story. I'm gonna call it the cock soap story. Did you know about this, Ramiro? I'll take that as a yes.
Hey, that's not. You should ask John Bossy that story.
I wasn't gonna mention the name. Come
We'll
on.
have to have him on then. We'll have to have him on the show.
You can
should
say the
have him
story.
on
Ray can cut out
should
the
have
name
him on the
after.
show.
What's the story?
No, I'm totally cutting out the name. I'm not doing any editing. That's extra work. I don't have time.
You can put John Bossy there. I don't care.
All right, guys. So we're gonna end here. We're at an hour and 15 minutes. We're gonna do a little cut here. I have another podcast I have to jump on, anyways.
All right, I'm good.
You're good.
I really wanted to hear the cock soap story.
You know what? If you want, you can Skype Ramiro right after this, and he will tell you the cock. And make sure
John
right
Bossy knows
after.
it has nothing to do with me.
All right.
The cock soap story has nothing to do with you?
Ask John Bossy. That's what I mean. We were there when it happened, but
Now I kind of want to know what the cock
Jim
soap
was there.
is. But
Okay, how about I tell the story and Ramiro, you tell me if it's accurate.
I don't. Anyways, see you guys. It was nice speaking to you.
guys.
Come on.
No.
All right. I'll leave you alone.
You've been listening to Let's Talk Jiu-Jitsu with Raymond Terrence. Go follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. Turn on notifications and press that like button. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the mats.